on the
Yeah, man,
screen?
know yourself for the coming
All right,
request.
now we're
Coming
good. Yeah,
request.
man. All right, we're on.
Yeah.
Once again,
Yeah, you
it
got
is
clear now.
Wednesday. We're good. We're good. We're on as normal, as usual, on YouTube and, of course, on Facebook. This is the CYC Smoke Show. I want to big up our producer there in New York City for linking us up. We're on every Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock Belize time. I believe this might be 9 o'clock New York and what, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock LA. I don't know, I'm not sure that what now. What time in LA, Maito?
Eliel is supposed to be 2 hours behind right now.
2 hours, right. All right, let me, without ado, introduce our guest for this evening. If somebody say hi, man, I don't think you know that who we talk about. But if you say Maito, everybody will know that who we talk about. Our guest this evening, Maito Perdomo, where we got lots of things to talk about, Maito, mostly sports and whatnot. But we know you got some health issues and whatnot. We can share a few things with us. But we really want to say how honored we are to have you with us this evening for a lead chit chat. Whenever you ready and say, boy, we tired of this, me know that I want to sleep, G make me up and for the timing. We understand that, but we really do appreciate. Let me introduce our other panelists. We have Mr. Gregory Morrison from the West Coast. He could tell you what time it is in LA, because it is in LA.
Yeah,
And
it's 6:05 right now.
6 o'clock. So you only 1 hour behind.
All right, so over.
Yeah.
And you worry about rain, but it never rains in Southern California. So,
It does sometime, and we've been getting more of it with
I
this
understand
global
this. Yeah,
warming.
yeah. Now let's talk about this global warming thing. You're a believer, I believe, Gregory. Mahito, with global warming, what you think?
I think we have had a lot of changes in the weather pattern. So I don't
Yes.
know
But
if
have we always had changes in our weather patterns?
well the changes are coming more frequent, I think. Right?
Well, I don't know. What you have to compare it with? You only there for what? About 40 years. You can't really. It has
Well,
always. We're,
but
we're
but
an ice age. We're an ice age for crying out loud.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
live about 70 years. Next month I'll be 70. I don't shame for 70 age.
Boy, I'm
Right?
Oh,
proud of
that's
you.
cool. That's cool.
Proud of
So
you. Uh,
I have been we have been watching the weather pattern in where we have our distillery in Belmopan,
uh-huh.
and Belmopan has been getting more heat, even though Belmopan has always been in this time of the year some of the hottest, one of the hottest places in the country. I mean, just to watch a few days ago when they compare the two hottest spots in Belize over the last couple of weeks is Belmopan and Libertad, the village of Libertad.
Interesting. And you connected the both of them because you deal with you're talking about distillery. You distill sugar cane, right, into alcohol. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. We
You
get
get
we get molasses. We get molasses and then we carry it there and we ferment it and then distill it into the wonderful products and the world class products that travelers have.
and
And we
you
do
get
a lot of aging.
you get rave reviews on those. People are across the globe talk good
Oh
about
yes, oh yes.
travelers that obviously are good stuff. Now, we know that the sugar industry traditionally was out not up north, but now we got Santander out there near you. Who do you work with
Yes,
primarily?
we get from both sugar factories, right?
Okay.
It's subject to the time of the year, and you know, we find that the molasses is better when the two factories are producing, and we're getting like fresh molasses, even though it's the last stage of the grinding process for sugar. That's what we get, the molasses, the last part of it, right? It's a byproduct of making sugar,
Yeah,
right?
right. Is it a
Even
byproduct?
though even though,
Mm. Go ahead.
yeah, it's a byproduct, but that byproduct is the one lot they have, so they export one lot of it too.
The
It's
molasses.
exported, the two factories export quite a bit of it,
Now, is
right?
molasses a stage to sugar, or what is left after sugar is produced?
We get the final molasses for rum purposes.
You mean sugar
So
is
that's the
already out?
last part.
The sugar is
Yeah,
already out of it. Yeah, I see.
yeah, and that's
Interesting.
how we have to we have to contend with. We have to contend with the fact that the sugar factories are getting more efficient, taking out more sugars. So we have to be on top of things, getting new fermentation methods for get more out of what they give us.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So has the quality gone down, or does it just vary?
The quality has gone down because they take out more.
I
Right?
see.
They take out more sugar. They not take out that. They not take out 100%. So we still at the last part, right?
Yeah, so but it takes more distilling, if you will, I would imagine, to
Not more
reach.
distilling, but more techniques and more efficiency in your fermentation process. Right?
Interesting. Gregory, do you remember Maita families?
You know, I don't, but I remember Travelers,
You know
and
the
I,
name.
yes, yes, and I do know that I have some friends that are some doctors and stuff, and they do like
Travelers Rum.
Travelers rum. Yeah,
Good,
three
good, good.
barrel and whatever else they have there.
So you
One
hear
barrel,
Maita.
3 barrel, 5 barrel, yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
The medical profession prefers travelers. Actually, I see one ad with a photo album. I like it. That's going through and they talk about your father who started the company, correct? And
Yes, right.
now Romel was your older brother, correct?
That's right. That's
And
right.
he would, though you in your own rights has made a mark. Most people, I think, more remember Romel. You think?
I would think so because I was always more in the production side,
And you
right?
were yeah, more low key.
So
Romel was
I
up
was,
front.
yeah. And Rommel, especially Rommel, was more aggressive here in Belize City with all the competition and things like that. So, right?
Yeah, in later years, he was very helpful to me. Anything that I was doing, Romel would. I remember one time I posted a video of doing some cleanup for the resource center on Vernon Street. And next thing I know, Romel show up with water, juice, and leave money and thing for pay the money. So he was always. I'm a philanthropist and a legend. Everybody know Romel Perdomo in Belize, no?
Yeah.
So it was a big loss. We know, Maita, you have a long history of more than just distilling rum. You were an athlete for a big part of your youth, correct?
Um, I was an athlete more when I was in school.
Uh,
But when I came out of school, I was more in the administration side of a football team that the company sponsored. Um, we went from we changed names. We changed from Hague Dimple, and you know your good friend Dujan this morning would have remembered some classic games between a team that he played on named Cheetos, and we had Hague Dimple, and then after that we went on to changing the name to Dorley's because we had a rum called Dorley's.
I remember that.
Right?
Yeah. Uh,
Along with somebody that you might remember that died in an accident going to one of the games, Edward YTO. You remember him?
yes, the name is familiar. Whitey was a famous player.
He was
Also,
a
yeah.
he was a big star with the Landiva club, and then after he stopped playing, he came over and he was mostly on the coaching side with us for Dorley's.
Speaking of Dujan, I know you did horse racing too, and we want to get to that leave it. Joe Cowie should be coming on in a while. You know, he's one of the regular panel. I don't know if they got trouble or not get a link or what. But Dujan, sports came up, and my question was really, and he told me he's asked a lot. Why is Jamaica so successful in sports, and Belize lags so far behind? We got news this week of a shellacking of a female football team that went and took 16-0.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that.
Should we still send
an under 21 team, female?
yeah, which are we that far behind and the rest of the world? And this is the region. This is not necessarily international as such.
A lot a lot of international coaches come to Belize and with all the sports, we have the raw talent, but we're not putting it together, right? So a program like what Jamaica had, or a lot of even the bigger countries do it. They set up a program that's not one year or just for you bring a coach in and then you try to get all the teams ready for that coach. I mean for that tournament, and then after that it's done. It's a continuous thing, and I think that is what we're lacking.
But it goes beyond that, Maito, because I see in the schools, for instance, they got one league competition. So 2 weeks before the competition, they put together one team hurriedly. Then they got a competition for like 2 weeks, really, 2, 3, but nothing. And then that's it for the rest of the year. The kids never play again. They don't have a standing team as such. They don't have a gymnasium. Most of the schools don't have any facilities for these kids to play. And it's a shame, man. And there's many. Look at the Marion Jones Stadium. And if this is not a disgrace, Maito, that they don't even have a decent track in there. A stadium we just spent millions and millions and millions on a fence. On a fence.
Yep.
I asked them last year, I said, why can't we finish the cross country in the Marion Jones Stadium? And said, why the track?
They don't set up the track to do that, and that used to be
can't do that.
some of the
yes. It used to be you freeze up and wait a minute, see where they go on there, Maito. But yeah, you dead me again?
Yeah.
All right, because you were saying that used to be some exciting finishes.
Yes, man. That used to be like, I used to always go with my family out at the Keys, but I used to come back every Saturday morning, every holy Saturday morning, because I finished with been at the Marion Jones. I know after they out there, you sit down, you have a lot of like entertainment, and it was good. And then they just, I mean, I know them, they repair the place, but after they finish it, the cross country not finished there for how many years?
But you don't think that I'm a factor that in, Maita, that here's somewhere we could make a little money for add to the prices. We could get people in there selling stuff and spurring some economic activity. I mean, who do we have running this place? Are there anybody there with any kind of sense?
I don't know. I don't know who was drafting up all the plans for that when that was being renovated. I really, you know.
And a lot of money. Remember, Venezuela gave a lot of money. Then Mexico came in and spent some money. Then
Mexico just gave us. And they're using it a lot. Mexico give away like one gym.
Yes,
where they play volleyball and basketball. But just recently, but before that, they I mean, continuously over all the years.
I don't even think that should have been there, Maito. That come against some wheels and let that track have a track all the way around that circumference there. Let the cycle finish there. Let the runners practice.
Like when you said and I told you I was an athlete more when I was in school, but I did a lot of horse racing at that racetrack. I won a lot of races
at that
there.
track too. Yeah, I remember that being a racetrack.
The main tracks used to be National Stadium at the time.
Right.
Right. Santiago Castillo Stadium in this for horse racing, right? And Cayo. Those are the three main places for horse racing.
Regular races, not a boom.
Boom.
What do you think of the track that boom?
It wasn't as good as the track that in Belize. The boom track, like I can't understand. Like I got a lot of races there. When the horse and they come in on the home stretch, everybody have to come to run on the outside. You know how much more energy one horse have to take for, you know, because inside of the track the sun is like maybe a foot, the lone sun, right? Unless they wet it good and they don't wet it good, right?
Yeah, you mean where grass can't grow up on that, man?
I don't think so. That are like Pine Ridge Sun, right?
Yeah, but then you could put a top on it, man. You could somebody. I don't know if this is true. Somebody will tell me they got 4 horses every time after a race, they throw water up on the horse and put down a new blanket. Could not,
I don't know.
might not be true.
After the Chuck moved from Belize, and then I got a school at the States. I kind of like drifted out of it, and then I go back to see the boom, and
You
I
never-
think that if the truck was in Belize, I'd have my horse. So I go ride around every day as I work out, right?
Yeah. You never race in the States when you're going to States. You never.
No, I never. I may get too heavy, right?
Did you ever ride Sir Jude, or does somebody
No. I rode against Sir Jude in a lot of races, and I never made up our horse to beat Sir Jude. I rode Sir Jude's father against Sir Jude in a race, the Castillo in Orange Walk, right?
Was Sir Jude that good?
Yes, Sir Jude was good. But
Yeah.
Sir Jude's father was a horse out of Jamaica, and Mr. Castillo brought in Belize for just breeding purposes. And then because the horse had a bad foot, they patch up the foot and they used to run her. The horse beat Sir Jude many times in Belize City and in Orange Walk, right? But Mr. Castillo never have confidence that I could ride her, and I ride her. But what happened? The Louisiana racetrack had like on Lee Hill, and the horse had a bad foot. And he jumped out of the gate and he did front of everybody, and the horse gone on like he had trip over. And I just pull up. Everybody passed through, and the horse make one run, no? So you just beat me by one nose.
So he nearly catch him back.
Really exciting. Yes.
Yeah. Where the horse me name where you made upon?
Thank you, sir.
But I remember that.
Sir.
Yeah, that name
Thank
familiar
you,
too.
sir. Yeah.
You had some of the famous names were Sir Jude.
I rode some of the horses. I rode Thank you, sir, one race there. But I was the jockey for a horse named Silk Stockings, belonging to Bobby Spot. He had two good horses, and they made the trainer right at the racetrack there. I mean, it was a big thing there. Mr. Canton, Mr. Catus, the two Catus there. The ex-minister, Albert Catus, he had several horses. Mr.
Okay.
Bedran. I mean, a big thing there. It was big, and then when they moved the racetrack, all of that just, You have Mr. Canton, Mr. Gilly Canton Jr. is still very involved in breeding, and he runs a lot of races in Boom, right?
But didn't these guys have any input as far as what was happening with the track and how we could expand on the sport, as opposed to why are we always seeming to go backwards? We're always stepping backwards as opposed to forward.
G-Mike, I really don't know who made take the decisions or which. I can't even remember which party was in power and they moved the racetrack.
Yeah. So somebody got greedy and wanted the land.
I guess
Yeah.
But it was unfortunate because I said Mr. Joe they come in now, but Mr. Joe could tell you how many good cycle races finished at that racetrack.
He might have been the one there when they sell the track. Where's he?
I don't know. I can't say that one, valuable.
Joe, good evening, Joe. Are you there?
Yes, I'm right here, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, man. You're kind of late. Write 100 times on the board. I will not be late.
Yes, man, it's a technical problem, but I'd like
understand.
to add to the conversation. And if you want to just like to look at horse racing first, there was an era before yours, Maito, but I remember your era too. And the era before you was with like Charles Roberto, and Ben Stewart. Where they had like Aldebaran and those
I
horses.
heard the name Ben Stewart, yeah.
Yeah. And then your era came. And now what has happened, and I'm speaking now generally, not just of horse race and cycling, there has been a transition, gentlemen, from sports as it was, where it was financed by the people with money for the love of sports. That's what they were doing then. It was not really commercialized. For you now to have sport to succeed in any country, especially where we are in Belize, and especially without the government support, you have to commercialize it. It has to become an industry.
Yeah.
You got to begin to play as professionals, ride as professionals. Everything now is driven by the market.
And make them make only money and ensure the athletes.
Yeah, I enjoy the days of the Maito and the Charlie Roberto. I used to enjoy Charlie Roberto because I used to take the shit from the stage, from this the stable we had there. And I used to sell it to them people up here. The expatriates, they used to use it for fertilizer. So I can make money off of the same house, but from the stable, you know.
Uh-huh.
But the point I wanted to make, gentlemen, is that the period of Mojito was great period. It was enjoyable sport, and the same period before. Those days will not come back, my brother.
Oh yeah, because I remember when it was like right the Belize City here, the 26th and the 1st of January. Then a big days. I mean, people used to go to the racetrack and
That's
not
right.
just enjoy the horse racing, but there was a live band playing and
Yes,
you know.
yes, yeah. Big party.
Yeah,
I've
they
been
used
to
to have
horse race
dance.
and the barracks. They used to have the
Yeah.
horse race and the barracks one day.
Yeah.
Well, that was long before my era, but that was
Right. Before your
running around the, you know, I heard about that, you know.
But outside of horse race, when speaking to Nick DeJean this morning, and he was saying one of the first things that struck him coming to Belize, he realized nobody got any insurance. They're not insured the athletes. If they get hurt, that's it. They're gone. But he was also talking about the barracks. When the barracks was there, when everybody that go out on Sunday could play league football, after football and could jump in the water. And he said when they transformed that into a bunch of huts and concrete, he said that just they lost a big part of our culture. And even we had a crawl. Anybody remember the crawl where you could go to
Yes.
barracks and go
Yes.
swim?
That's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
They
I
used
used
to
to swim
call, they
there.
used to call it man crawl and ladies crawl. You remember
Yeah,
that?
that's correct. That's correct.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing, but again we've seen to have been walking backwards all this time.
What I want to picture is coming down the barracks. The MCC was always reserved for good games, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Before the Ramada was built, coming down the barracks, they had two football pitches there and a cricket pitch, you know. And sometimes all the sports and they go on at the same time, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it was, I don't know. I guess I mean the naive stage of Belize.
But you're speaking of cricket too, and I could remember as a boy watching men in full white heading
Yes.
up to men's CC grounds to play cricket, and it's
Exactly.
vivid in my memory. And they used to call it the gentleman sport. I don't know because I see cricket now, and in fact, I saw an advertisement during the NBA playoffs that they're having a cricket turn that they're televising cricket, which I find interesting because there's still people, a lot of people in the rural areas of Belize that
Mhm.
do cricket, but
Yes.
mostly out there. I don't even see it played. It's not played in Belize City anymore.
Well, it's like you said, it's rural completely, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but Maito, again though, do you think that we are doing enough to promote sports in Belize? Are we developing our athletes? Are we paying enough attention to them? Are we starting at an early enough stage that they can, because an athlete, you can't start to play any kind of sport at 25, 26, right? You got to start much earlier than that. What can we do to save this? What Joe? Yeah, go ahead.
I always had one theory when I was in administration of football after I gave up the teams. I was the president and one pen the commissioner of the PLB, which is the highest level of football, male football in Belize. And I was trying to promote to the federation to link up with because if you can remember, Mr. Joe, remember this, and you yourself and G Mike, we used to have some great football games in primary school and college at the MCC, you know.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I
It was like
remember those. Yeah.
I mean, I remember I couldn't make the team when I was in Standard 6 in St. Joseph because the athletes when we did them is so good. I mean, I could start to name some of them, but whether they are like they talk about that, but
They had football and softball for high
Exactly.
school and primary school. Not primary school so much, but for high school.
primary
Yeah.
school football was big,
Yes.
and then
yes.
Very
they
big.
got on to college, and if you never got to college, well then you just started playing your first division and
League,
second
yeah.
division, I believe,
Yeah.
right?
Primary school football was big in the city.
Yes.
Oh,
I
yes.
remember Holy Redeemer. It was always Holy Redeemer and Ebenezer were always at the top.
Ebenezer,
Yeah.
that they used to come a
Ebenezer, yeah,
brilliant
they
team.
produced some good football players. And
But
after that, the same group from Ebenezer gone into basketball with
Mhm.
Reds and Sharky and them boy there. And remember, they
yeah,
had Fireball. Then Fireball became one of the top players, and SJC was, of course, ahead of them, but it was a very tight thing. So if you look at the primary school, inter-primary school competition in football, it was Ebenezer and Holy Redeemer. And then when they graduated in the later years and then gone into basketball, the same crowd more or less that was at primary school in
Yeah,
Ebenezer.
these used to change up.
That's
But
right.
I remember I did at St. John's maybe second farm, and the team they play against, the St. John's College team were going to go play against St. Michael's. St. Michael's had a good team, right?
Yeah.
but you
Michael,
talk about the school system there too, because I remember growing up, all the schools had bands too. You remember
Exactly.
all of them had some bands with some plumes. Nations had a good
Look
band.
at
Yeah.
Boys
G Mike,
Brigade.
I'm going to see me a Rommel in a St. Ignatius school band as
All
buglers.
right. Yeah, you see. I mean, they promote, encourage all kind of sports. I think that's good for the development of human beings, man. It's a
I
no-brainer.
but we could come back to where I may think, and then I don't want to talk too much, but
No, man, go
um,
ahead. You the
I
guess.
I think that if the federation would have followed that from Mr. Chimilo days or Mr. But the other man name I there before Chimilo, used to do a BC.
There was somebody before him.
Delhart.
Yes, Mr.
Courtney.
Delhart.
Oh, Courtney, right. You're
If
right.
they had followed that and tried to put energy and finance in that part of it, because the government can't do everything, right?
But they got leave
And,
money, Maito. They
and
get
yes,
money.
and if the government throws some of that money in there, and with all of the primary schools that we have across this country right now, you know what kind of competitions in them, Miami? You may have for
And
zone
develop,
craft,
yeah,
right?
develop the discipline was some missing from our children to them, man. Because you
And
have
that
to,
would have,
yeah.
exactly. That would have been the beginning, young athletes and the development of the football. But then they try to develop it and just to help people. And I don't know what they need, really and truly. I don't know what the present federation is doing at those levels, right? Like I
Maito,
say, so they go out and take
16,
and
not
a
no
16
embarrassment.
female, but take 16, then the legal now are playing no more football.
Maito,
Right.
when I went to the States, it was long ago, and I transferred to a junior high school in Maryland, outside of DC. I was so impressed. It had a full gymnasium that makes the Civic look like nothing. It had a football field, a track. It had a baseball field. I mean, it was a spread out on several acres, and everything that you needed to develop at least was on in that, and with standing teams in every discipline. I remember Grace Primary being on Amara Avenue in our league corner, not just room for like a few classrooms. Now they've moved to Fabers Road, and thank God. But even with that, this lady, Miss Edwards, made Grace Primary into a respectable institution where people
Oh, yeah,
wanted to send
definitely.
their children. But imagine if she had the room to work. She had a nice music program going. I don't know if they still have that, but it's like, again, everything seems to be stepping backwards where commercialism takes over. They want everybody want money before they even start to do anything, and I put nothing back in at the pot. How are we gonna fix it?
By,
Well, from what
I
I
don't know.
recall, gentlemen, and I'm going pretty far back, this was before, as I said, before self-government. They thought at the time with the schools that the primary school, were to be the nursery for our athletes coming up. And it was almost in every field. We were supposed to be in sports, the football, basketball, etc. And then also in the music
Arts.
and the other performing arts. And
Yeah.
I believe there was a time when it was working.
Mhm.
And somewhere along the line, I don't know, but the schools beginning to be pulled back. Either they never had the resource or the interest began. And then the only one I recall me left in the end was Paloti, and that was for music.
Mm-hmm.
But because you had one or two private sector people like Dr. Francis Smith and then they promoted. And definitely they came out with some of the best musicians.
Yeah,
But
I
that
remember
period again was disrupted. But the primary schools were to be the nursery for our athletes and the performing artists.
But it makes sense, Joe. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, it should be a part of education because sports is integral to building character in children. I really think so. And
But
if
the
you
sense
don't,
in it was the sense was in simple this. A country educational institution should develop to meet the economic vision of the country. The way the country vision to go is what the schools should be developing. Schools do not just train people, just simple training with nothing in our mind.
no,
The development plan for Belize, when we were talking about the 25-year development plan, it was for us to make sure that when we made the talk of the industrialization, etc., the schools were to begin to prepare the country, the human resource for the industrialization.
Yeah. A long time ago, I believe our schools and our whole country lost direction and vision. And that's why everything is just thrown upon each other and there's no planning. There's no idea where we're going. It's just heading down a dark alley.
Well, a popular whipping boy, maybe rightfully so, are politicians. Is that where the blame should be placed on the shoulders of the
It should be
politicians?
placed on the educators and the politician as far as the school, because the educators, they have a responsibility to make sure that there is appropriate curriculum within the schools. You know,
And the parents?
we don't just, the parents too. We don't just have an education department that should just be sitting there and not advocating on behalf of the future of the country. Even though they are taking direction from the politician, they have a responsibility to advocate for proper development of the students. We have to remember that those same educators are parents too, and they need to speak up about what's appropriate for their children. You know, it's a shame. It's a shame that we don't have arts and music program and sports as part of the curriculum of schools. But as Mr. Jose pointed out, one of the problems we found in the city was lack of space to conduct any of those activities. I remember I was at All Saints. We had a little bit more space there, and particularly when it was the Cinderella Tongue area was being developed and Kings Park and such. But as it encroaches with housing, billing and stuff, we didn't have those free land to go and kick the ball and play around as we did before. Then I went to Bethel, and Bethel it was like Ebenezer or any of those other places, Grace Primary, that absolutely had no real space. They didn't even want you to kick the ball because it will go into somebody's yard or out into the street. We couldn't play ball. We couldn't play ball. There was no way to play ball. It was
play
crazy.
tap and marble.
Exactly.
But it was amazing. It was amazing how Ebenezer, that was a small schoolyard, and they produced a lot of good athletes in that area.
Imagine
I'll tell you what happened. They played after the regular school hours. They were very dedicated. They were
close to barracks. So I imagine maybe they could have gone up there, no?
That's correct.
I think so. I think they used to play at the barracks on that. But
yeah. And most of the time they played. I remember passing there after school, and that's when the kids were out there playing. And it was not so much during the school time. The recess period.
Them and they do it on their own.
Exactly. Maybe there were some of the teachers that were active in promoting it. But
I can remember the high school days when St. John's College and even in track and field used to match up with technical. Remember Belize Technical?
Yeah, I have some intense competition, right?
Oh yes, man. And I always remember the late Glenford Quaylo used to run for St. John's College. Used to run like the long distance race and the 5-mile race and that kind of thing. Right?
Yeah, excellent guy. Very.
Yeah. 20 laps around MCC and that kind of thing. When he was in high school, right?
Quay was an excellent athlete. He was a damn good runner.
He
But let me say this, gentlemen. one of the advantages I saw with the, let's say, the Roman Catholics for now, is that they had the vision to know that they had to create a secondary institution and they needed a lot of land. So that after they had lost the Port Loyola, the Loyola College, they went to Landiva.
Yes.
At that time, Landiva had just like a little dirt road to get there. But
Yeah.
what happened? When HJC, they developed, and the Jesuits were, of course, running it, and it come to sport, we had 2 football fields. We had 2 basketball fields. We had a baseball field. We had handball. We had the lake. We had the cycling track. But to show you with all those, yes, we were excelling. HJC was excelling at the Parishal. But to me, when you look at those who had far less, and I'm looking at the Ebenezer, to show you again when somebody is dedicated and committed, Ebenezer
Find a way.
and Technical were threatening to HJC with all its greater resources. And Ebenezer and Technical, academically and athletically, were very competitive, and they had far less in terms of infrastructure.
Well, you know, let us talk about stepping backwards with this also, because SJC now still has a lot of land. In fact, I think they should. I was happy when they put on fence. But we get back to the Marion Jones situation. They're going to fence, you're not got nothing inside. I think they need to do more landscaping back there, because it would uplift the morale of the students. But they got one football area. They got the gym, of course, which has always been the place where most people, we used to go away from behind this side and go over there just to play basketball, because they had the facilities.
Right.
But I don't see them coming out with any kind of sports program, no robust program that you could say, boy, SJC, they're doing a thing.
Well, there are not too many tournaments at that level right now, you know.
To compete
might wanna
against
look
them, I
at it.
mean?
If let's say that all the major high schools pick a football team, there's no tournament set up for them. I'm just talking about Belize City.
Yeah.
We don't even talk about the other districts and the other part of the country, right?
Well,
There's no tournament like
but
formal
Maito, we have, you know, all of these disciplines. We have funded. You got FIFA. We got the B we'll call it BD something. But there are organizations set up with funding, and what can we do to urge them to do more? What should we make more noise? Could we do
I
more
don't
programs
know.
like this?
I think there are a little bit of tournaments at that level, but like the team get for play, like some of the high schools get for play 2 games or 3 games, and then get knocked out, and that's it. There's nothing else.
You got a game tomorrow night, supposed to be on, and I was to talk to Joe about this guy. Was supposed with the threat a long time ago, sit down and watch, or at least play some ball. They got a semi-pro basketball thing, but my concern was that they were running along with the NBA, because if the NBA had gone more than the 5 games which it did, they may clash every time with their schedule. So why would they do that when we have all year long to play? Wait until the NBA don't start your league like the WNBA does, and then capitalize on the after hype, if you will. Right now, a lot of people want to see more basketball. So one of the reasons I want to go see the game tomorrow, because there's a Jones I need to satisfy. I want basketball.
I understand it. I not gonna none, but I understand it nice.
I understand
my
it not
sister and
playing.
husband always go. My daughter and her husband.
Yeah.
They say it's very good. At that level, at that.
No, I understand it is competitive, and that maybe that's something we could build upon, because we have been here before, and it crashed. I went to one earlier this year. I said, "Make I go see where they go on," and just before halftime, there was a foul call. Obviously, one team didn't like the call, and they actually guy call everybody off the team and they go home. So they went home. I got home myself, but understanding later finish the game with a few of the players.
Well,
But I mean, maybe that a part of it that all are involved in the crumbling of it, right?
Yeah, the discipline.
well, one team will do that in a football, get some serious sanctions.
You should.
Right?
You should.
Serious, like
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what they may do with that team tonight, but
I don't know. Nobody's bigger than the game, though. The sport itself cannot be
nobody.
held hostage, right? For the sake of that.
I
Anyway,
think,
yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I believe, quite frankly, that the era for the type of sports that we used to enjoy, the Maito and era before him, that era has gone and it will never come back. For sports to develop
That's
in
right.
this country now, you have to commercialize. You have to see it as an industry. And it is an issue of who are the investors who are willing to invest in it as an industry. The reason why, and I'm saying this hopefully with no disrespect to anyone, but Belize has been very much of a mercantilist society. We want to buy and sell goods. That is right now, I would say, it is the apex of the society in terms of business.
Mm-hmm.
We are not investors. We are not the paydomers where we want to go and manufacture and create things. So I think that the whole breakout, and besides, now listen, we want to move sports without government participation, and I believe it can be done. But you need to commercialize it. You need
an embryo for it, and that would be
the embryo,
the schools.
I would say, was there.
Exactly.
But what happened? We look at the semi-pro basketball. It had come pretty far.
Mm-hmm.
The semi-pro, I would call it cycling. When I was president, we had come pretty far in it. We had the pari-mutuel. We had people beginning to make money off of cycling. We had the track field in the night. We had the lights. And that was the idea. We felt that the athletes cannot just be entertaining people for the fun of it. They had to be paid for entertaining, just like it is in any other part of the world.
But they can also generate their own income if you put in an environment where you could charge a couple dollars at the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I am saying to you that under Katus, who was in charge of horse race, and myself as president, we came together and we began to have horse race because we had the track then at what was before, what is now Marianne Jones. And we used to run the horse race, and we alternate horse race, track race. And the two of them, we had the pari-mutuel, and pari-mutuel was known only to be for horse race. But we brought pari-mutuel into cycling, and you had to see the crowd that was there.
And
if you get and money we made.
And
one show, when Emery King told me that if I make money, he don't want me to tell him how. And I get Stuart Crone to do a videotaping from up what was then up at the top when we were running the same races, making money at the track. And then I took the tape and I began to sell the tape to the television houses, through the commercial centers. And in a short while, we make $10,000. But what happened?
I remember the cross country finished there. They used to pack the stadium.
Right.
Yes, that's right.
And then it was not even the cross country never used to. What used to generate good income was the track races, and especially the ones in the night. And then when we alternated with horse race,
Bigger,
so the point I wanted to make, and I'm not just trying to again take credit for it, but the people who are heading the association in that period, I will give Hilly Martinez a lot of credit. He had a lot of interest. That's why Pollard, a lot of them. So what happened, my brother, when you say a country, as we are right now, is going through what I say as a leadership crisis. We are going through a leadership crisis.
We are.
That's right.
We are going through a visionary crisis. We're going through a visionary crisis.
Today.
Yeah.
You look at you look like in the business sector. You don't want to see one bed run in a hurry again. You don't want to see one Mario Pedro.
But Joe,
you don't want to see one You don't want someone 13 or you don't want someone Ben Stewart.
Yeah, but you call these names, and did these people do enough, you think, to pass on the baton, to maybe groom a successor, to do what they can to say, for instance, I remember, I'll give you a story. I came to Belize and I went to, when I returned from the States, and Solis was there selling ice cream, and he was in softball along with Lashley and they. And I went by this place and I said, so Solis, how come on like got no farm system as such? Why don't you not get one thing and develop some of the younger people to play? But because softball was in its heyday, they were playing good ball.
Yeah.
He said, boy, you know what? Me don't want to develop no player for go play for next team, because they ain't gonna style when you're done teach them if they ain't gonna play in the next team. And I was appalled. I say, but hold on, Solis. I say, you to develop the sport, you not develop you and your team. That you the talk about one sport that you want to survive. It doesn't have to be this person doesn't have to play with you. I mean, just as long as it contribute to the sport and the continuance. And I thought it was a very, very shallow frame of mind that was expressed there. But you know what we could do, and I think that it maybe we don't have a changing of the guard, if you will, where the old guard facilitates the entrance of the new guard and hold their hand until they get on their foot and whatnot. Could there be something to that maybe that we could look at?
That is throughout our society. We have that in politics, we have it in sports, we have it in business. There's no mentorship, and nobody is willing to break their back and teach anything to anybody else for the continuance of whatever it is they're doing. It's just me. And that is part of the leadership lacking. That is part of the vision lacking, because there's no continuity or hope for continuity in whatever we're doing now. There's no vision. I think that part of what needs to be done is, and we talked about this some time ago, where government and the people need to start setting development vision and projection for what they expect the country to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, 50 years, 100 years. We need to start having those type of dreams and vision. And then once we develop it, it's not that things don't change, but we need to make sure that there is some continuity and it's a shared vision, so that when one party gets in and one party gets out, we don't scrap everything else that was being undertaken and have spent thousands and millions of dollars in developing just to go on to something else because the other group of people don't favor that. So it's tough, but it only comes from a conscious people trying to establish themselves for tomorrow and for their children in the future.
Well, you know, Greg, I've had a kind of theory, and I was wondering if maybe it's not because that while the young people have lost their respect, the old people have lost their patience, and that's because it's a two-sided thing. Those of us in our generation who has to try to groom the younger generation to take over. They, I think, also do have to show a willingness to do this and interest in it. We can't do it by ourselves. We can't expect them to do it without our help, but they have to be humble enough to get the help and accept the help when it comes.
Well, G Mike, you're a good example. We see you out there with those kids, training them, teaching them, showing them different things, showing them how to work together, how to play together. And that's what we need. So I don't think people lose the patience. I just think more people need to be willing to offer it. You know, a lot of people are comfortable just sitting in their own. And somehow we need to get that enterprising spirit, that community spirit that needs to be brought back in us to show us and show the next generation that we have to do this together. Whatever it is, we have to do it in a collaborative effort.
Can I ask? Oh, sorry.
Please, no, Joe.
Can I ask Maito a question?
I don't know. I think Maito left the building. Maito, are you there?
I don't see him.
I don't see again. I saw. I don't know if that one technical thing, but I did invite him to break away in time. He felt like it, but I don't think he may have broke so sudden without give him. Maybe have a little technical difficulty and might come back on. No, but yeah, Joe. But for now, we have to.
What I wanted to ask him, but maybe you can answer this too, G Mike. Except you were you around in the period of the semi-pro basketball?
Yes, I was.
All right. Who are the? I believe most of the teams were being sponsored by business places, right?
Yes,
Like the
Habet,
Habits and the
Santiago Castillo.
Santiago,
Um,
and then of course you had the Amandala crowd.
correct.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
let's ask ourselves today: who is it now that is sponsoring basketball teams?
Well, Benny's is sponsoring
Sorry,
one.
Venice was one of them always.
But yeah, and this guy Rico Black from San Pedro has sponsored his team. The defenders I don't know. I think Benny's the Hurricanes, and
All right,
then
let me show you something there.
uh,
The people who have been sponsoring semi-pro, they were not sponsoring them so much as a profit-making thing in itself. Maybe it was a part of their promotion for their business as an advertisement, no? Because the same thing was happening in cycling. There was a lot of teams developed, but they were being sponsored by business houses.
I'm back.
With
Good,
all right,
good,
so
good.
Maito is back. So the question I'm putting, Maito, was I wanted to ask you what the chairman was looking to answer to. The time at when semi-pro was being promoted back then, and you look at the business houses that were promoting them. You can name them like the Habets, the Castillos, the Beniz, the Amandala, all of them. At the time, they were not promoting semi-pro as a business to make profit from, but they were using it also as an advertisement for their business.
Oh
But
yeah.
at least there was somebody there fitting the bill. We should have been able to piggyback off that to begin to make it into an industry. Today, I would ask, who are the ones now that are sponsoring these teams, these basketball teams? Anybody know?
Well,
Who are-
you still have Benny's, and he bring up the guy Black from San Pedro. I don't know who does the teams up north, right?
All
I
right,
think every district has a team right now, and I like that idea.
Including PG.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I like
no,
that.
I don't
idea.
want to song.
That's where the parity comes out of the sport, because right now you see even the San Pedro team right now, from what I gather from the news, is struggle, right? And the two Belize City teams, they
Carry the swing, no?
carry the swing.
But
Obviously,
they also they bring in imports.
oh yeah,
So, and this is what made the sport successful for a while. I remember the CARICOM tournament in 1998 where we won, and in fact, I along with Alex King, son of the Emery King's son, I believe it was, we did the play-by-play and the color commentating for that, and we did an excellent job as far as representing ourselves against Jamaica. I believe it might have been Grenada, Barbados, but some good teams that had players that were even coming from the States. Because you know what the teams do, and we brought in a bunch of our Belizean American athletes and made a good show of ourselves. Why we didn't build on that, I don't know. But it was shortly after that politics, government changed, and everything went. We had with the boy, I think, who put the dagger in that move was Derek Aikman, because he went and he brought some athlete from old Boston play and gave him the key to the city and spent a lot of money trying to follow up on the success of that CARICOM tournament. It was foolish, because you build on it, but you're not trying to outdo yourself in a way like that. I watched it happen and I shook my head, and it was inevitable what would eventually happen.
Well, let me say this, gentlemen. I was around at the time, very much in government, in customs and income tax. And I find that many of the business houses were sponsoring and promoting giving donations because those were deductible. So
Exactly.
the tax system was helping to promote sports by giving tax deductions. So in effect, the people were sponsoring sports through the tax system. But when they shifted to the business tax, one of the most unfair and unjust tax system, I believe, in the world, but we hold on to it. But now they do not benefit from that. They don't. But when you look at the distribution sector, who is at the commanding heights of the distribution sector? I don't want to be sounding kind of ethnical, bringing in ethnicity into it. But we know who they are. They are making the highest returns on the investment because they are paying the least.
And yeah, and even
And
the taxes.
we need to be upright about it. So what is
Yep.
happening?
Yep.
When you through the tax system, we the taxpayers generally and the business houses were prepared to put up the money because they were getting as a tax benefit.
But Joe, I
But
went.
now that had gone through the door.
We used to get a certain write-off.
That's
Not
right.
100%. Not 100%. Once you
So
could
they limited it to a percentage of the income.
exactly, once you could generally at the time show the income tax department
That's
that
right.
you because we had football team then,
Yes, I was
And-
at tax
and-
department and I was
and
at
even-
customs senior.
and even help. We used to even help the amateur basketball teams. But if you could generally show them an invoice for equipment, they would accept it.
Yeah, but you know, Maito,
Well-
I have a non-profit status from my. I went through all it was a tough procedure and whatnot. I got it, and then I went to a business place and I said, "Can you help us? I mean, you could me probably get a write off for this." He said, "Mr. Man, I wouldn't even go through that." He said, "I get no write off, number one." And the last time I did that, he said they can't audit me.
They want you, listen to me. If you do that right now and you show them, they want you pay the business tax and the GST on what you spent on a team.
Yeah,
Can
yes.
you imagine that?
Put the tax on your contribution.
I asked two different prime ministers why they not take this to the house and amend this thing so that the business people could get more involved in sports. And everybody say, yeah, and I say, what we could do, and nobody do.
They will lose money, Maito, and that's the bottom line. The bottom line of everything we do right now is money. What's in it for me?
Yeah, but if that money was going to circulate back in a
Well,
sport,
yeah.
so then you don't really lose it because it stays here, right?
But Jimmy,
Mhm.
I disagree with it. It's not being driven because they are making money from the tax system. They are not. The business tax has nothing to do with equity and fairness. It doesn't. It has to do with simplicity, yes. It is simple, but it's not fair and it isn't just. But if I ask you this question now, and please, maybe that the political animal in me to come out. When you are prepared to give a fiscal incentive to this multi-million dollars investment in your country, which never needed no incentive, well, you are prepared to do that. You know how many millions of dollars we were going to give up, and you
Let
can't even
us-
give up $2 million for Charles Burton and Pac.
Boy, this is one good point for segue into Maito. We not want to go again because we want to stay up on this one. Make we talk about this port thing. And tell me something, how many ports can Belize support? Do you think there's just an overwhelming amount? It seems like you got what? You got Stake Point, you got Waterloo, you got Magical Belize. I mean, you got the creek, the big creek port down yonder. I mean, how much we do? We only got so much size.
You know what, G Mike? The port to me, when I say, I don't know if that's true. Whether a natural port from a big boat coming and you only need a lot of dredging,
Yeah.
the Commerce Bight Pier,
Yes.
right? That should, to me, that they should develop that as a cruise terminal, right?
And they've not.
But it was so far from Belize City. I think that was the issue with
Yeah,
that particular.
but then you have a cruise port very farther than that. Out of from Belize City, the The one down by Placencia? Where that one
Yeah,
is?
but that one is
Harvest Key.
catering to that. That
but-
one
but-
is
The
Harvest
catering
Key
to
one, the
Harvest
Harvest
Key.
Key.
Yeah, that's catering to that space.
but you know,
But it's still there.
but the
Right?
No,
thing is,
I know.
the thing is, Gregory, is that the way they're taking these people far away from Belize City also. Belize City is far away from all the things they want to see. So I think it boils down to the same thing, because the tourist sites and whatnot that they go to are not located in Belize City. So when the ones that dark hair or anywhere around here, they have to go somewhere else anyway. And I always felt that one part of the way for make the money trickle down. Because, like, for
gentlemen,
instance, yeah.
Sorry.
No, I always thought it was a mistake when they started running this small aircraft and traffic air and what the next one here, out of the Philip Goldson Airport. So the visitors come, get off the big plane, get on a small plane, go to a resort, and that's it. Why not leave the small airport, let them come in a taxi, and that at least on taxi get money. Have some places along the way where they will stop and maybe get some travelers rum or some of the products of Belize. Make the taxi, make sure boy have to stop there for full up the guy taking a walk around, or the people, the family, and are able to pick up some Belizean products, some souvenirs. I mean, that will generate the economy and make everybody get at least something. Some of these people come in on an all expense paid trip. So the money's over there, paid over there, stayed over there, and all they spend over here, that they fund bare necessities to get these
But
people.
gentlemen, let's look at some facts that we need not be doing too much of our own thinking. When government invested over $1 million, I don't know the exact figure, to do the study for the country, for the cruise ship, and turn right around and didn't go with the study. The study was done for the country, with the cruise ship industry and the overnight industry. And what the study showed, and I read the study, you read the executive summary, you could read the whole thing, it's nearly 100 pages. We were not to develop beyond a certain amount of cruise ship. There was to be no cruise ship at Harvest Key with the $3,000 size. They were to be pocket size, 800 the most.
Mm-hmm.
The study showed at the time that four cruise ship tourists it take to make one overnight.
Right.
And because the amount coming on the cruise ships would have been impacting the ecosystem, Belize is selling what you call a nature-based product. We are not like the Atlantis in the Bahamas. We have a lot of artificial things.
But
When
that's
do
where
we
we're
consider-
going there, Joe. It seems we're going there. They seem that we have to do that.
No, no,
Because-
what the point I'm making, the point I want to make is that here we are trying to say what we think we should be doing, but then we don't pay for the study. No, if anything, we should be debating the study, what they turn around and did.
Just stuck it in a drawer
When
and
I
move
was
on.
a part of, me and Stuart Crone head the opposition to the Harvest Key. I wrote the paper. It was in a mandala to why we should not do what we were doing. And then they went to Placencia. A minister of the previous government never did have a meeting at the community center. He talked to one or two people, left and came back and tell them that the people of Placencia, they support the Harvest Key. That wasn't true. So the thing that is hurting us, gentlemen, and we need to face up to it. Why you spend all this money to do a study and then you put the study aside?
Let
You
us
see the amount of cruise ships that they are looking to do now?
go on this specific
Well, Mr. Joe, may I ask you a question?
go ahead,
Sure,
go ahead,
man.
Mike.
And even G. Mike and Mr. Morrison, don't you think that the other side of the country needs that development?
You mean like Corozal?
Corozal.
Why?
And look at how beautiful it would be to have a cruise terminal in PZ.
Yeah.
And all the wonders that PZ have to offer,
Yeah.
right? You don't have to get 4 ships there at one time. They could schedule that.
Yeah.
I always wondered why Corozal was not.
And you know,
being-
you could put one at Corozal too.
Yeah.
So
You know, I have no problem with the development of cruise port. I think the market will bear what it could handle and support, and those are the ones that are going to be
But
profitable.
another market, that economy. We
That's
didn't
not
look
true.
onto.
That's not true, Mr. Morrison.
No,
It's
I don't
all over
think
the
that.
world. It's been proven. that
Well, you
cruise
think
ship-
we could have more ports than the investors? Cruise port takes 50, 60, $100 million to develop. The
Yes, but the
investors are
point
not
that we
going to
are
put
making,
money
that
there.
there are countries, that not many countries like Belize, but we do
Mhm.
have them. Belize have 5 unique things that only Belize has in the world, the whole world.
Yes, I understand.
Belize is predominantly a nature-based product. That's what
Give
we
us
said.
those 5 things, Joe. Give
We-
us
We
the
have
four.
we
One
have
of
the
them is
barrier
the blue
reef.
hole. One of them
Yeah.
is the reef.
Yeah.
One is the cave.
Yeah.
And I think there is one
Maya
more
ruins?
higher there. There were 5 of
And the
them.
The
Maya
Maya
ruins.
ruins,
Yeah,
yeah.
They're right there. No, the point I need to make is this. We need to get the facts. Then we could give with views and opinions. The fact is that you cannot allow cruise ship to develop beyond a certain amount in your country.
That's what I'm
Because
saying.
what you're doing, you have a bag of range. Your bag of range can be sold for $4. So why is it that you want to sell it for $1?
Mhm.
So what you do, if now the number may have gone up, the ratio. It was 4-1 then.
Mhm.
Why should I want 4 people to come to Belize to impact my ecosystem when I only need 1 to make that amount? And you can do it through overnight. Cruise ship is not for countries with nature-based products to be allowed to go unregulated. It
Yeah.
will damage the product.
So you think we
No,
should
I-
lean towards promoting the overnight tourism as opposed to the cruise ship?
Mike, the truth
Oh,
about it,
definitely.
there was a
That is a
collusion.
given.
There was a collusion between the politician and the crowd from the Harvest Key. What we do, you were prepared to sell out the future. We are selling our future for a few dollars today.
Well, tell me something,
And
because
that's the reality of the cruise ship industry.
the question has to be asked, because we look at this magical Belize giveaway, if you will, and most people are seem to be of the conclusion that it is scandalous. It is a terrible
It's criminal.
document. It's criminal
It's
to have drafted
criminal.
up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right now, as we speak, Mr. Finstein is on with Jude.
yes, I know what that is. I mean,
That's not bad.
it's
right?
unfortunate that it clashed with this, but fortunately, I will try to catch that on a later thing, no. But I don't know what you have to say, because he's promoting, of course, his cruise ship also a port.
Mhm,
So I don't see him honestly discussing the pros and cons of this. He
No,
wants you to
but
see
he'll
what,
do it from his perspective. I do believe, and what I was saying is that I believe that the market will determine what is an appropriate number of cruise port for Belize.
you think.
No, because the investors are not
Morrison,
going
that's
to
a
put.
serious mistake you're making. I must
We have,
tell
we
you.
have to regulate it.
Why?
man.
You
No, I'm
cannot
not saying
allow
not
the
to regulate
market
it.
to
I'm not
determine
saying
that.
not to regulate it. That's not what I'm not. That's not what I'm saying.
You
I'm
can't allow
saying
the
that
market.
if Belize can support 3 cruise ports, that is what it's going to have. If it
I
can
don't think
support
so.
4,
I
No,
don't
that's
think
not the
so.
market.
But what would be the scenario if we have 3 cruise terminals in Belize City?
no, I'm not saying Belize City. No. I'm
You
not
mean
saying
the
Belize
country
City. The
in
country.
different parts?
Country. Yeah.
Well,
No,
let me
I
like
could-
no.
I could see it in different parts, but not
Yes,
so
that's what
close.
I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Belize. No. There's no
but
point in
that's what
putting it.
Maite was saying too. Maybe one in PG and one in Corozal and one in Belize City.
Yes.
But it seems now that it flood Belize City. And Joe, you think that would be too many even, no?
G-Mike,
No, you
gentlemen.
don't need more than 1 or 2 in Belize
Yeah,
City.
man. What is happening, man? What is happening in the world with cruise ship and nature-based product tourism is that the investor doesn't care if you lose the product 30 years after, because he gone by then.
Yeah.
That's the point we have to look at. So you can't leave it to the market to decide. If you leave it to the market right now, why they didn't leave it to the market? If you have 3 of them, they compete to have one cruise ship port in this city. Why is it you have to give them a fiscal incentive to begin with? Fiscal
Since they want it
incentive
so
is
bad.
given to fiscal incentive is giving to an investor who the country says we need you to invest, but it is a high risk investment. we will mitigate your risk through the fiscal incentive. That's what it is for. If you have trading, they compete for Belize City. You don't have to get no fiscal
Oh,
incentive.
no,
Oh, Brad,
you guys misunderstand me if you think I'm thinking it's all the cruise port I'm thinking about should all be in Belize City. That's
No.
that's
I
not
don't
what
think.
I'm
I
saying
don't
at
think
all.
no, I don't think so, Greg. I understand. They're not gonna be in Belize.
how broad is the fiscal incentive? More lucrative than Porta Magic?
They were giving
The
away
fiscal
everything.
incentive,
They were giving away
Did you
everything.
read the definitive agreement?
30 years, and you don't have
Now,
to
did
pay
you read it?
nothing.
No taxes and
I will
yeah.
send it to you.
I read
Yeah.
it. I read some of it.
All right. That kind of incentive was never given to any investor in this country before. None.
Yeah.
But
Well-
Joe, you make a very good point that we're not looking at, I believe, enough. Is that the incentive was not necessary. If they so want to put up one port and they got money for do it, why you want to give away so many taxes?
That's
That what? I want signing bonus that you look for.
Well,
In other
somebody
words,
got some
yeah,
money. Somebody was getting
get a lot of money and apparently only one signature there on the document.
yeah. Somebody
G-Bank.
somebody
G-Bank,
somebody
look at it
was
this way.
benefit from that.
on the 1st of October 2020. The then minister signed the definitive agreement.
This was how long before election?
Just
Couple
to be
of
exact,
weeks.
to be
1
exact,
month? Or
it was 42 days. 42 days
42
before
days.
the election was the 11th of November.
That they were that were pretty sure was gonna be lost.
Now,
Yeah.
Most
if you want,
people
now, if
knew.
you want sign one definitive agreement claiming that it came out of the memorandum of agreement that was given in September 2015, but you want to do it on the 1st of October 2020,
a few
The
days
election
before the
came.
national election.
came November. They knew the
Yeah.
election was November.
Right,
They knew too that they were going to lose.
right.
No.
Joe, given
Who you
all that,
believe would have done it unless they knew they would have the support of the incoming.
that was a good point too.
It's obvious it had to be. I'm not
Very good
suggesting
point.
that the
Very
Camel
good.
collectively colluded. No, I wouldn't do that. But how can you tell me?
Because they were going to pay both sides.
Well, that's what I'm trying to.
Definitive
I don't
That's
want
what you're
come
trying
over
to say. That's what I'm saying.
But
Yeah,
I think
agreement is broad, it's spread beyond.
I believe that instead of Feinstein on Lick Road or where the thing there, where uncut, it should be the Prime Minister, because the Prime Minister has some answers to give. Because I understand it was taken and presented to cabinet. So
Yes.
why would you go take this to cabinet that obviously is a fraudulent document? Number one, because the guy wasn't supposed to sign it by himself.
Because it wasn't supposed to come out in public. Somebody within the same cabinet felt cheated from their part,
Somebody
and so
again,
they
no.
leaked it. They leaked it.
But Greg, isn't that doesn't really
You know, Sonny, it
does
was
that-
leaked because
Yeah, it
they
was
have,
leaked
they
from the
have other
cabinet.
serious agreements with the other people,
But
Yeah.
this is what I'm saying.
I
Is
know
that
what it
does
comes
that pose the question now? How many more of these have gone by that we have not caught? How many of these kind of scenarios happen?
I'm sure many.
Without
This
us
is not the
getting-
first time this happens. This is not the first time something like this happens.
I cannot agree with that. Let me tell you why.
No, I don't saying to this
No, let me
extent.
tell you
but
why you
there-
cannot.
there-
No, I think we are
no.
taking the cynicism too far.
No, but we have we know of things
No,
that
man,
went
I'm
to
saying to you,
cabinet.
Mr. Morrison.
We know of
No, Mr. Morrison, let us be fair to all of each other, all of us.
Uh,
How could you, any government for that matter, could have signed any agreement of that magnitude and it will never come out? It must come out.
but
You
it
can't
does
say how
not
many
have
this
to
more
be
would have
about-
not come out. This would have not come out if someone didn't leak it. The
No,
government
no,
would have
no,
gone
no, no, no.
ahead.
I-
The government
no,
would
man,
have
Mr.
gone
Morrison.
ahead and approved
No,
this.
man, no, please,
this
man.
document
that is
in a
not fair. And I
reform
need to
manner.
correct-
Are those
No, come
agreements
on.
public
Listen
knowledge?
to me, man. Listen
No.
to me.
With
man.
other
But Joe,
companies?
have
Mate,
they
Joe,
signed agreements
you
with the
had-
other
no, man,
ones that
you
are
had-
just not coming out?
Mr.
No,
Chairman,
no.
you could
no.
not have done that without going to the without going to the house.
Joe,
you
there have
might
been
Joe,
agreements.
Mr.
They're
Cowie,
just
come on.
saying now
come on.
they don't
We-
know what the other ones really consist of. There have been agreements with State Bank and with Waterloo.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's in it. We only know because we're looking at this one. now looking at the others.
And
Correct?
No,
there
no,
have been
I don't
agreements
agree
with the
with that.
healthcare industry, and there have been
No,
agreements
no,
with
no.
the bus.
Out
With
of
the
those
bus.
agreements,
Tell
even
me
though
something. Tell me
out
something
of those
about.
agreements, even though they could have been signed, you see, you
Now
have to
get
ask
now,
yourself.
now get defensive now because we're not
No, no,
blame
no,
you.
no, no, no. Mr. Chairman, I want to emphasize that in the discussions we must have facts. Where we don't have facts, then let's say we are speculating.
We ask.
Well,
No.
I am speculating, but we know for a
No,
fact.
yeah, but
we know,
could I
Joe. We
finish?
know for a fact that
The
a
point
lot
I'm
of
saying that whenever anything that the government does need to be codified in law, it must become public. I have to go to the parliament.
yes,
So don't
but
say that.
but
that.
it gets
No.
it gets changed that you would never have known the definitive agreement clauses. They would have created a new bill that would have incorporated those same principles, and that's what you'd have had in public, not
I
the
do not
definitive
agree.
agreement.
I
The
could
definitive
strongly
agreement would
disagree
have
with you, and I
never
can
been
give you
a
evidence
public
and proof that it is
document.
not so.
Mahito,
No.
Mahito, you
Let's
say
look at
something,
the
Mahito.
let's look
I
at the
know,
accommodation. Let's
I
look
know,
at the
I-
accommodation
I'm
agreement.
going to ask one question. They take
Look
one
at the
lead-
accommodation agreement. Look at
Hold
I will
on,
show you the
Joe.
difference.
they
The
take one lead
accommodation
forward,
agreement.
but
The
the whole of this-
accommodation agreement never had to go to
Joga
the
will lock
parliament.
out. Joga will lock out.
No, the accommodation. No, I did give facts. The fact is that whenever the government is doing something, if it is to be codified in law, it cannot do it in secrecy. No, if it can be done by the minister, because of the law exists for him to do it, he can do it. But you
But
have
he
to
do
come
it.
to light.
Now he made it do it. How often has this been done and not challenged? That is the question.
Jimmy, the problem with us, why we can't solve the problems, because we don't even know what are the problem. The problem
what
is
do
that
you
we have
say?
to know,
You
man.
see a lot of
because-
things that could be
No,
right.
man, we have to know how the country is being
But
run.
I
no relevance to
I got one question.
No, let me
Hold
just
on,
ask
Joe.
one thing.
Right?
Lots of
Make
things.
my talk.
No, let me finish. Let me finish. You guys been talking a long time. There are lots of things have gone into the government that doesn't goes to the House. It just gets approved by the cabinet, and the minister signs off on it, and it becomes what happens. So to say that everything has to go to the House and present it in a manner and become public is not true. It becomes public later on when we realize what's happening.
But
it
Mr.
doesn't
Morrison,
have to-
you are
it doesn't have to
contradicting
be
yourself. Because
It
you are
doesn't
saying a lot of
always-
things are done
Hold
without
on.
being known. So
Hold
how
on,
do you know?
gentlemen. Hold
No,
on,
no,
hold
no,
on,
that's
gentlemen.
not what I
Hold
said.
on, gentlemen. Hold
So
on,
how do you
gentlemen.
know they're happening?
Joe, give me a
because
break.
we see the
Sorry,
result
sorry,
of
about-
it.
sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Fellas,
Yeah, let me pull back.
fellas.
Let me pull back.
Mahito, you have a question. Go ahead, Mahito.
I have a question in this whole scenario. But the Waterloo side, if they don't get the I would say the license to build the cruise port, are they going to still develop the Port of Belize? Because the Port of Belize leads a lot of development right now. Everything they crumble there, right?
And Waterloo.
Waterloo,
by
from
the
what
same
I would
person.
hear, Waterloo, they say, well, if I don't get my cruise port, I know I develop this so much because Waterloo in
But they
essence,
can't shake it down like that. We can't allow nobody to
Well,
shake it down.
I don't know why they ask that question because
Yeah.
I know they see much development in the real cargo port in Belize City, you know.
Yeah. Well, it deteriorate. It go down.
It deteriorate and they're
No, Maito, you're
they're not-
asking a
they're
very
not
good
rebuild it.
question. A very good question. And we need to answer it. And let us answer it based on facts. Ashcraft owns, whether we want to call it under receivership or not,
He owns the
he
port.
controls and he owns the cargo port. And if he is to build the cruise ship port, he will own it. What Ashcraft is doing is tying them together. He's saying, and he did it already publicly, that if I cannot get the go-ahead to do the cruise ship, I will not develop the
So
cargo
you know
port.
what happened, G Mike?
No, what will happen with that?
The cargo, everything cargo eventually
Well,
but,
shit.
you know, that be quick, you know.
Yeah. And that's what the stevedores were complaining about.
But you
Exactly.
know, the Minister Cordell Hyde the other day came up again with this N word that he gonna nationalize it and maybe that time we take the port. So we're going with another battle Ashcraft Accord. They've been there before, and Ashcraft went. And in fact, I heard Dean
Well,
Barrow
I'll tell you something.
Hey.
if Ashcroft neglects it, that port is a necessity, and so there needs to be that consideration.
But I was saying the same thing about BTL. It
No,
was necessity.
Mr. Morrison, I have to support you on that one. Please, I have to. When you're right, if they do not develop the cargo port, government will have a very good, strong reason
To take
So-
it over.
take it over.
Yeah, of course.
I
of
went
course.
a
Because that
quote
is
and
an
lose
essential
again.
service.
Yeah,
to this
that
country.
might be true, but then that's a cost, and hopefully
Boy, I
we
heard the
do it in
same
a
thing
proper.
with
Hopefully,
BTL.
no, but
I
hopefully we do
heard
it in a
the
proper
same
way.
argument, though.
But
That-
but you cannot have somebody hold you hostage to the development of the country.
That is exactly
They can.
my train
You
of
could-
thought. If
That's
you don't
right.
give me this, I know they develop this, and this is essential to you. So you
Yeah.
might have to turn around and give me that,
Yeah.
right?
That- You will be able. You're saying under the Constitution, which they've written out land and public property, and how you acquire private property,
Mhm.
and the Constitution laid out clearly how you acquire and when you acquire.
Exactly. Exactly.
So if the Constitution is saying for the public interest you acquire a
Mhm.
property,
Mhm.
that would be a good case for public interest.
But
Eminent
then
domain.
that
Eminent
happened.
domain.
Wasn't it what happened with BTL, and we wound up paying $600 million?
That's because we screwed up
That
the
was
manner in
different,
how
Eli.
to pay it.
That was
But
different,
we are
Mr.
screw-
Chairman.
No, because
No,
we didn't pay it properly, and then we neglected, and then we just put it on freeze, and it incurred interest and all type of stuff. Then we negotiated it, and then build on top of it, and private negotiation. That was just mismanaged with how the Barrow administration dealt with that in the final closing when they
And
went
what's
to.
to prevent them from doing the same thing with this one? And
Well,
in
No,
fact,
but
in
Mr.
fact,
Hopefully we
Chairman,
have some lessons.
there
Hopefully we
were
have some
some.
lessons.
There were
Mr. Chairman,
suspicions.
let me give you some facts again to help. When they went to acquire BTL, Barrow was acquiring it because he said that the accommodation agreement was evidently hurting us. And I agree with
Mhm.
him.
Yeah.
The accommodation agreement should never have been given for BTL. Now, when they were going the morning for the public acquisition, Ashcroft did call, and I know that for a fact, to tell him that he's prepared to repudiate it. He will repudiate the accommodation agreement. No, I would have backed off and don't acquire it, repudiate it and regulate it. But he went through instead and acquired it. No, let me show you what happened at the permanent court of arbitration.
The accommodation agreement came back in
The
and
shares
paid
were
for it.
valued at $5.64 each. Now, out of the $5.64, the accommodation agreement represented $3.18.
Yeah,
Imagine.
yeah. Yeah.
Now,
What we gave them for free,
When
they
they paid.
came back and charged us for.
when they paid, it was 200 and odd million for the shares.
Mhm.
The rest of it, the exact figure is 614 million. And almost the other amount for the interest alone was more
Mhm.
than the value of the shares.
Right.
Now, when you look at the period from when they acquired it, and you look at the dividends that was generated, the dividends was less than the interest we paid.
Mhm.
But you're rehash again. You're going historical. And
No,
we talk
this is
about
current.
No,
my
that's
question,
rehash.
all of that, though, we understand. We've gone over that.
No, don't
My
understand
question-
because we don't know about it. We don't.
No,
we
but
never know.
that's not under discussion. I'm saying, how do we know that will not happen again in this case?
because
No,
because if we acquire it in the proper manner under
That's right.
eminent domain.
That's right.
But that
That's the
if
answer right there.
No, but
hypothetically,
that's why it has to be
That's the
public. It
answer
has
right
to be
there,
vetted.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Morrison said,
yeah,
I
once
am
what?
raising the BTL issue to say to you that the BTL public acquisition was done not in good faith.
It was mismanaged.
And you're
That's right.
saying this
It was.
one will be done
No.
in good faith.
If
And
we
that
have
would
to
make a
act
It
now
difference.
and
should.
say,
It
listen,
should be done.
The court
Ashcroft
don't give a
refused
damn
to
about
develop
good
the
faith.
cargo port, and we now go to acquire it, that to me would be a very damn good public acquisition act. And that's the contrast I'm drawing, my brother.
And you don't
Because-
mind going
because-
to court and paying what has to be paid.
Because if
No.
the envi- if, but the,
You pay the fair price. You pay
if
the
the
fair price.
environmentalists they tell this man you can't build this sport here, and he they tell you, well, if I not build it here, He know they carried a court in London right now for the same
For the
thing.
same matter. For the
For
same
the
matter.
same matter,
Uh-huh.
right?
I heard Dean Barrow.
I don't know if the London court still has jurisdiction over Belize laws. I think we have to go to the
They have
Caribbean Court of Justice.
This man is pulling out a thing they call
Oh,
some kind of treaty where Belize have.
oh, I see. Okay, okay.
What he's doing,
That's at
I
the
think,
level that he's going.
But Maito,
Maito is quite right.
We
You're
going
right,
to these,
Maito.
we go
It's
into
the
these
same thing he did with
agreements.
us with the BTL thing. He went first because of the treaty between Belize and the UK. And the acquisition of BTL was a violation of that treaty. And the
Yes.
LCIA in the UK, the LCIA ruled in favor of it.
Yes, yes.
And
yes.
when they gone to the public, when they gone to the PU, whatever it is, after the trial, the permanent court, they upheld it and they agreed on the valuation. So to me, what we did in the public acquisition of BTL was terrible. Whatever Ashcroft may be, there was no need to do what we did and paid so much in the end for it. So that to me was not a good public acquisition for the public interest. That was not for the public interest. Ashcroft benefits tremendously because of our stupidity.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's some people who have suggested it might be collusion. That in fact there was nothing unintentional about that. That in fact that no mistake was made. That was a design plan to get two people very, very rich.
I don't know about that, but
Well,
that's
yeah,
a good stretch. That's a good stretch, but to incur that type of cost on the country, $1 billion, $1 billion. No, let me finish. To $1 billion to make $20,000 or $40,000.
Do you remember
$40 million?
a certain meeting in a Miami room?
But what do you think? As somebody want to be on a cruise terminal, and all the environmental people internationally and locally tell you this is not good for the barrier reef.
Yeah. No, I
Right?
agree. I agree that
And this
that's
and
an issue.
the persistency of this company to take us back to the court in London, right?
Mhm.
On that same treaty agreement, right? To allow him or allow this company to build this thing. And if you not build it, the Port of Belize might not get the development that it really needs, right?
But why is it that if the one, let's call it the Ashcroft Port, would have had so much of an environmental negative impact on the country? How come that Port Magical? I'm not suggesting it wouldn't have, but how is it that Port Magical wouldn't have that kind of impact?
I know that I judge more than him.
Right?
According to the TV and the news, Port Magical may judge more dirt.
But that's a part of the argument.
But we know that a particular agreement is illegal. It didn't get the proper approval of the cabinet. It didn't get the proper approval of the prime minister.
So
go ahead.
Do we think that the government will have the face of brass to bring it up in the House of Representatives for passing into law?
I hope not. I hope if they consider it, it would be considerably scaled back and change in some ways that would make it more, that it will come in compliance with whatever the environmental laws are.
You talk about the same agreement that Contreras signed.
The definitive.
But you sounding just like the argument, the line of reasoning where they come up with that they will revamp it and make it more palatable, if you will.
No, I'm not talking only on the giveaway that they were talking about, but also on the environmental issues. Not only on what the incentive they were giving. That should be scrapped. That should be scrapped. That I don't see any reason.
But there's nothing can be done about that. There has to be
the environmental thing will play a key role, you know.
That's correct.
Play a key role, right?
Yeah.
On the two people who want to do it. Now State Bank done it. Like I understand that they hold back the State Bank for building the causeway.
but
Because
they're pretty much developed out there. I understand
I
that
know.
they
Then they build and they work hard out there.
yeah. And
But-
then
Let me throw another thing
But-
into the. Let me
but
throw
the-
something
but the
more
causeway,
into the.
has the
Let me
causeway-
throw, Mr. Chairman, let me put something into the mix. Did any of you see the letter that came from the Ashcroft, I won't call it the Ashcroft group, to the outgoing Attorney General?
No, I don't see that.
All
That's
right,
interesting, though.
get hold of that letter and read it, and you're going to ask yourself, if a
Why
person.
why did that person resign? Why did they?
Well,
why
let me
did
show you. Let's reason out. Let's use our reasoning on some facts that we have. The release came from the government side that the Attorney General was committed to 2 years only to serve. But she was good enough to go on some months after. And that was when she emitted office. But when she emitted office, although she told them that she was going to go only 2 years, how is it that they never had an AG in place to replace her?
Yeah.
Now, if you read the letter sent by the Ashcroft Group to her, the Attorney General, congratulating her on the stand she took, saying in that letter as much that the AG resigned because they did not bring the definitive agreement to her for her advice. And that was what she was aggrieved about. Gentlemen, the time has come. Do not tie ourselves to fanatical partisan politics on neither side. Country must be first.
Exactly.
I mean nobody can argue with that, right? Make we switch gears and leave it. Make we talk about Trump. Leave it like everybody else is talking about Trump. Let's talk about these indictments, Gregory. With that man went now there on the ground there, and we know he's a big Trump supporter.
Oh, I am.
I think he's disappointed in all of this. The man,
Yeah,
man
I think
went-
I saw Gregory at that meeting last night.
with a MAGA hat. Make America great again. The man going to jail or not going to jail, right?
I think it's lining up in a very curious way that it's going against him. I think he could get some conviction, but I'm not quite sure that any judge is actually going to send him to jail.
Can he still win presidency of the United States of America?
I think this is bagging him down so much now because it's getting real. I think that he cannot win. I don't think he can win. I think there's so much. He seems to be playing a good game of ignoring all this that's going on around him in some ways. I mean, he throws it off like it's something that's not real, that really put at risk his very his very freedom. I don't
He
see
got
he
hit with
takes
another 5 million, no?
Huh?
They charge him another $5 million.
Yes. But that for the last case where he lose with the
The
with
gal.
the lady, with the
Yes.
young lady.
Yeah.
apparently he bashing again publicly, and the judge said no, I will revamp this thing.
Oh,
get 5 more.
You get 5
okay.
more.
Why? But
Oh,
that
wow.
case there kind of like me interesting too. 20 years ago, this happened in our bathroom, just uno two, and boy,
You know,
that
bathroom, one place where ladies changing clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, a changing room
yeah,
at the
and
store.
and the evidence was that she happened to have told somebody about it. Boy, that kind of rough, you don't think so? I mean, let's
the
be
jury,
real.
it's what a jury believe, our system is based on jurisprudence, and if the jury believe what you tell them, that's how we find innocent and guilt. So that's what happens. It was a long time ago. It did happen a long time ago, but for whatever reason, the jury that heard the case
what I
felt.
didn't know was that the judge can hear what you say after one case I mean, I don't know if it happened at Belize, and call it back and lick it on again.
Oh yes, judge can make that ruling all the time.
You mean
Yeah.
based? Yeah. You're not
Yeah.
supposed to criticize their
Yeah.
decision.
Apparently, he did some public thing out of the girl again.
Yes,
Was it
yes, yes,
verbally?
yes, yes.
I
And
guess
her lawyer asked them for additional
Yeah.
sanction against him, and the judge agreed.
I guess that kind of like basketball. I mean, once the referee make a blow, you can't show up the referee or you get a penalty. We call it technical. So
In the past, where the referee said goes,
Mhm.
but now then they go back. You see, then they go back.
where with the advent of instant replay and that kind of technology, I
They
can
go in
understand that.
football.
Mr. Morrison, was it
Yes.
that I'm not too much up to date on that one, but
Mhm.
I thought that they go to a judge to ask that the matter be reviewed, and the judge agreed,
Yes, yes.
and that was
The
when they
lawyer,
decided to
yeah.
put on an additional amount on it.
Yes, the law.
Good.
He had made some additional disparaging remarks about the young lady, and she went to her lawyer and asked them to add additional charges for those comments, because I heard them, but I didn't pay attention to it, and I was surprised because I didn't realize the judge was actually going to take it seriously and do it. But I think it is an intent to kind of tell him this is not
Shut up your
acceptable.
mouth.
You cannot be doing this on and making victimization out of people. And for the most part, $5 million out of the $300 million he have raised through his campaign is
But there it is.
nothing.
People are giving him money.
They're giving him money, and he's
I-
somehow using the money that was given for Make America Great Again and fight the steal in these manners that I think even New York is kind of questioning that, and so that in itself might come up as part of case
another
against
charge,
him.
maybe.
Another case against him, because they identified the funds that were raised and are being raised for different purposes than it's now being used in many instances.
Would it
Well,
be
I read
easier?
something. I read something later this evening, which was interesting. Remember, there were what 37 counts, right?
Yes.
And that 37 counts came out of 7 different laws, 7 different acts.
Yes.
Which one of them happened to be the Espionage Act?
Yes.
Mhm.
Now, it looked like the Republicans, again, given their partisan fanatism, had acted prematurely without reading the charges. Only to find out, I notice Pence is softening up now and backtracking. Pence is saying that after he read it, I think he says it's about 100 pages, and he read it over the weekend, he realized how dangerous the evidence is against Trump.
Yeah.
Well, remember
They
the former
always know
Attorney
that. They always
He
General.
said
know
the
that. But
amount of evidence
Yeah.
that Trump himself, from his own conversation,
yes.
because of the type of case, he has to prove intent.
Mhm,
Now,
mhm.
the evidence is overwhelming that he did the things that they said he did. That has already gone to the court and proven to be so.
Mhm.
The case now is centered on intent.
Yes.
Now, the amount of evidence that they have come up with from that investigation to prove that Trump himself, by the very things he was saying,
Mhm.
have a lot of evidence of intent.
Yeah.
He spoke about himself, talk about how sensitive we should be about the management of classified information.
Mhm.
So the man cannot be saying that and turn around and try to trivialize the classified information.
Yeah. I
And there's
think
no
it. I
law.
think it was. I thought it was classified, and therefore it was classified.
Right.
Well, he
It
said
was
I can
declassified.
classify.
It was
I can
declassified.
declassify when I want.
Yeah.
I think his narcissism is
Yeah.
messing him up more than any way.
Yeah.
I think he really felt that he could get away with anything.
That's right.
And what really alarmed me was when his former AG, who was on
Barr.
his side,
Barr,
I mean,
yeah.
said that if half of what I say the man do that true, he's toast. In other words, if you get 100 emails, a few of these, it's enough to get serious trouble, because they're almost treason.
Yeah.
And that basically when you look for charge and with no.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
But I don't know if they'll charge treason, because that's a whole different step. That takes a different area, because that would have to show that you had intent to harm the country. I don't know if his action shows that level of intent, but it shows total disregard for the information he has, and that's what I think is enough to do him in.
The information that he had evidently once disclosed was threatening the national interests of the United States, particularly the military and embassies in the world. And that why some of it came under the Espionage Act. It doesn't necessarily mean that he was in fact involved in any case of treason, but it evidently that he acted negligently,
Right.
with handling of classified information. And they think they have enough evidence on him from what the investigation is showing, that some of his supporters that were there before, until now that they have read it, they're having some second thoughts.
Yeah.
Could the whole discussion about Trump turn out to be a major distraction from other things that are really affecting the U.S. right now? Because the U.S. got a few things that are on the table.
No.
I mean,
I think if he was to somehow quietly withdraw, they would probably give him a pardon from all this that he's facing. That's what I'm thinking.
and that if he keeps pushing it, you think it won't be likely that he would be pardoned?
And yeah, I think if he keeps showing this stubbornness, I don't think there'd be
But
any flavor for giving him a pardon.
could you explain that a little further to me, Mr. You
Well,
are saying
I
that if
believe that nobody
if
wants to
Trump were to
see.
go in, and let's say he had admitted guilt,
Yes,
that's what he'd had to do.
and that's
To get
what
a
he'd have to
pardon.
do.
You
That's what
cannot
he'd have to
pardon
do.
somebody who is not guilty.
That's what he'd have to do.
Yeah.
I think if he admits guilt, that would remove him from the race. And I think, but you have to do it early. You have to do it like, he has a couple of months or so to kind of come to some senses about this. And I think that because nobody really wants to see a president of the United States goes to jail.
By Trump on a different case, boy.
But I
mean,
don't.
no,
But I
that-
don't think.
but-
I don't think it would serve America's interests, and it would create such divisiveness. We have to remember, 73 million people voted for this man,
and it already has, though, Gregory.
and it would. I know, but it would be worse. It would be more upsetting to the entire American culture, and so I believe that in the interest, we saw it with Gerald Ford, how he did it to Nixon, and I don't think it's beyond the current president to consider it and to act on it if because it would be in America's interest. But he would need to first accept the guilt and step aside from politics and in some degree remove himself from the entire political arena. And I don't know how he'll do that, and I don't know if it's in him enough to do it, but it would be what would save him from the what seems to be the ultimate things he's facing right now.
Tell me,
But Mr.
Sonny.
Morrison, don't you think the implication is way beyond that? For example, let's say Trump decides to admit guilt. And I think that Biden would be prepared to forgive him. But I don't believe that the Republicans who are up in the upper echelon of the party and some of them are candidates would want him to do that. If Trump were to do that, that's the end of the Republican Party for the next election.
I don't think so.
I
Because
feel strongly that will be the end.
It might have a reverse effect. It might
I
be
don't
just
think
the opposite.
so. I don't think so because we have to look. No, I don't think so. We have to think that Republican Party won with Trump with 65% of the white vote, right? And that's not going to change. Those people aren't going to go vote Democrat tomorrow. So
No, they won't.
the challenge is still there. And if a Republican that seems a little bit more stable could capture some independent votes, I think there's a good chance that Republican could win. Biden is not so strong. He has a shoulder right now, and he'll do okay against an undeclared candidate, and he'll probably do well against DeSantis. But if there's some other people that are there that could be more captivating, I think he'll have a hard chance, and he could possibly lose.
My political instinct
Trump
is
would have
telling
beat
me.
that?
My
That's
political
not the
instinct
question.
is telling me that if Trump withdraws tomorrow,
Mhm.
that number of the white supremacists in America, which is a very large number. Don't
Yes.
underestimate that number.
I know.
That number
But
will not support another Republican candidate. They will rather
who
stay
they,
at
they
home.
will not support a Democratic candidate.
No, they
Yeah.
won't. No, they won't support a Democratic candidate.
But I don't
I
think.
know vote.
Do you really think that the majority of Trump voters are white supremacists?
No.
Yes.
No, I don't think it's a
I don't think
majority.
so.
I don't think it's a
think-
majority.
I don't
I
think
think
so.
he has a good stick, and that always puts him over the top. And because they are the rabid one, and those are the ones that go to all the
Mr. Morrison.
conventions and
And
stuff.
make all the noise and whatnot.
No,
Yeah.
the statistics was clear,
Mhm.
The statistics was clear. When it comes to the white Americans, especially the non-college graduate, Trump got almost 100% of them.
I understand. I know.
Trump
I
got
know.
a large percentage of his votes was from the white people.
Yeah, that's what I
That
was
is a
telling you
fact.
earlier. 65% of white people voted for Trump.
Except
That's right. That's
Joseph
what I'm
Roca.
saying.
Except Joseph Roca and a couple of Belizeans who were. Tell me something, and I want to ask a question here. If all these mass shootings in America, are they in any way connected to Trump and his propaganda and diatribe?
Some of them were kind of led to that, but I don't know. There were a few, a guy that ran in his car into some people and killed them. Some of the shooting people may have shouted some racist and white supremacist type thing, but those people always exist, Trump just gave them a space to mouth themselves. Those
Exactly.
people always exist in America,
They did.
and they'll continue to be part of what America is.
You mean the fanatics?
The fanatics and the
But
racists.
hopefully not the shooters, because and the funny thing with these mass shootings is that there's no connection, no
Yeah,
nothing
but
to say
the shooting
because
is a
of
mental
different
thing,
states. But are they all that mental and in different areas of the country they just come up and their mental deficiency is now kicking in and making them do that? I mean, what's the connection? Why are they doing it?
They're like a suicide thing, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
I think people when they are pushed to the limits, you have to think that also white people are under the great strain as much as black people and many other minorities. And when people see that and are being told and being coached that their way of life is being changed and is changing, and it's because of certain people, and these people think, oh, black people or Mexicans
they're
or
not
whoever don't
necessarily
have rights to and shouldn't be here.
Shooters aren't necessarily going after black folks.
They
just
are.
shoot
They are.
anybody.
No, well, they are
Most of
different
those-
kind. They are different kind that's going, but there have been some that had focused black churches. There are some that has been that focus
Yeah, but not all
Jewish
of them.
Jewish synagogues. There's some of them. No, but I'm saying if the ones that are particularly focused on the political
But
sphere of things.
Maito suggested something that I had thought about. Suicide. They tired of living and they took coward for killing themselves and then go there knowing that they will get killed if they might shoot.
Well,
I
one
mean-
person did that. A girl that recently did that, right? A young woman, which is a rarity to some degree. She went out and she called a friend, and she went and shoot up the school because she
was
I
suicidal.
think, yeah, she was
got tired of
suicidal.
living,
She was
yeah.
suicidal. She felt kind of,
Because it's
because she
interesting
attended
now.
the school. She attended the school, and I think she had some grudge against the people at the school, and she went and shoot up the children at the school, which makes no sense. What does
Well, I
you went?
think-
She was 30 something years old, and the kids that are there now are 9 and 7 and 5, and she gonna take it out on them. What does that have to do with anything that might have happened to her while she attended that school? 35 or 30 years ago.
Why
I don't, Mr. Chairman, I wouldn't link the sociological problems in America right now in terms of those killings directly to Trump. But I would say this, it comes out of the similar thing that is facing Belize and other countries. Whenever you begin to subvert your value system that was entrenched more in respect for law and order, respect for citizens, etc., you will find this happening.
Yeah.
these children that are doing these things because of the environment that they are coming up in.
Mhm.
And I think the same thing at home here.
Mhm.
The killings that are taking place right now in Belize, which much of it, of course, has to do with guns, though. Where are they getting the guns? What they want to do with these guns?
And again, it brings us to the whole age-old argument about the guns. Certainly, Gregory, we know, is not going to back up on the Second Amendment rights. But I still believe that we have to do something about these high assault weapons. I mean, why does a person need to have such a weapon? I don't. They're not going to be doing what they were suggesting they should do
Are you talking in Belize or are you talking in America?
in America. In
Okay.
America,
Well,
but
well, if you listen to Jefferson and you listen to Adams and them, they believe in a well-armed militia. They believe that a standing army in the government represented a threat
they
to
didn't
the
have a
individual.
these weapons that they have nowadays. You have one musket.
They're talking about a weapon to defend yourself against the army, whatever that weapon is necessary. So I don't
ban a Belize, right?
I don't have any problem. I don't have any problem with people having rights to weapon and almost any type of weapon that they want. In Belize, you have the same situation. You have Chester signing
Whoa! You take long to get to this one, but now. Maito, you hear the conversation between Chester and Mary Beth?
I have some of it.
Do you think Chester knew Mary Beth?
I think he knew her, man.
I would think so too.
Oh, listen to me.
No, Chester did say it happened in different time frame. When he said when he signed that in 2020 or 2021, Mary Beth did not have the recognition
No,
that
she
she
didn't.
had.
But Gregory, Chester is a very good policeman. Chester came from CIB, you know, CIU.
I know.
And they knew everything about everybody that was given trouble in the country. Mary Beth has been the dir, as the man said. You know? So the dir, as far as I know, dir that one when the deal cat, the man with the cut that the dir.
Yeah, well, Mary Beth made a deal something.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So Mary Beth, not easy. But I think the conversation ought not to be about Chester, which it is.
Yeah.
The conversation
it's
ought to
only
be
about him. It's only about him because he is the person that signs it. But it seems that there's more issue with the process. The vetting process needs to be more open. It needs to be more stringent, and then we need to make sure that nobody corrupt is within the inside of the police department. Like Chester said, they just put it on his desk and he signed it. He came back and he found it.
He shouldn't, though. He shouldn't.
Is Mary Beth the woman who claimed that she had the right to bear arms?
Yeah, we buy the weapon. The Second Amendment. Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know, and I think unfortunately, again, the discussion has been about Chester. No, it has taken away from the whole, from what was really wrong, which was people being able to acquire guns for a price. Once you got 7,500, you know enough, you buy the gun and the permit. So, one price. You know,
you don't show up or sign anything.
Just pick up your gun.
Well, we see this happen with passports too, you know. So it's not far from how we do things. It seems.
The passport, I mean, cheaper, Mike.
Yeah, and they're not killing as many people.
I thought the passport was $100,000.
Did anyone of you see the statistics and the amount of licensed guns in the country?
No.
Because the police has it, right? The police has the amount of
I would think they would.
licensed gun holders.
Right.
How many you think there are?
I would say probably about 20,000.
And if you have a population of 400,000 with maybe 40% as adults, maybe
Yeah.
50,
Yeah.
200,000 people, if 10% of them can bear arms,
Yeah.
I don't
We-
see that really as anything so damaging to the society.
No, I don't have
I-
a problem with gun ownership, whether you're in
Once you
Belize
vet
or
them,
America.
But
I have a problem with illegal guns.
They're not big guns, they're not small guns.
that too.
Yeah, but
They have big
you
guns
can't
in
get that
Belize.
sim-
I've seen
you
big
can't get
guns
that
in
sim
Belize.
on
Belize.
fire phone.
Yeah, but let me explain to you why I asked that question. Whenever you create a perverse incentive, people will feed off it. When you put custom duties very high,
Yes.
like say for jewelry and whatever they are, vehicles and so,
Mm-hmm.
when you put custom duty of 80-90%, you create a perverse incentive.
Right.
Anytime you make something such.
Yeah.
Now, if you say that we will be very transparent, we'll be open with who will be able to bear arms,
Mm-hmm.
then to me, what is the criteria you will set for the person who say, I would like to have a gun for self-defense?
Yep. Yep.
We'll get far more than 20,000 people, man. If that
I-
20,000, I don't know what it is.
No, I don't know. I was
I
just
don't know why
thinking
we
it's probably.
think
I
we
was
should
thinking
be
it's
able
probably
to
about
bear arms.
20% of the people that needs to. I know a couple of people that owns gun, and I really in Belize, and I really say, do you really think you need to own a firearm?
What I know is that
Oh,
what I
man.
understand was that if you get a gun license, it's only one. But they have people who have
2-3
multiple
guns. I
guns.
know. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But Greg, let's go back to that, Greg. What are you saying that you've seen people who think they should not own guns, or you wonder
No,
why they would
I'm
want to?
saying, yeah, I've seen people that I know that owns gun, and I ask the question of myself, not of them, why do they think they need to own a gun? Because these are normal, regular people that not transacting with carrying lots of money with them, going here and there and going to
No,
the bank and
but
things like
they
that.
have lives too that need to be protected. If you in
And
your
that's
house,
true. And
I
that's
tell
No,
you
but
what,
I think Mr. Morrison is making a very good point.
anyway.
Don't you give a license to a person for self-defense who doesn't have any experience how to handle a gun?
But that's a different matter, though. That's not what
No, but-
what he's saying. No.
But look at the
He-
case with the boy
let-
Canton the other day, just recently. The fellow from the Holy Redeemer Credit Union.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Why was he playing around with a gun, whatever they were doing with it?
Yeah, but listen, if I in my house and I hear a noise outside, I'd rather have a gun than not have a gun. Let's put it that way.
So if you
I-
hear a
I don't
noise,
have to
if
be
you hear
carrying large amounts.
noise, if you hear noise outside your house, you're gonna walk to the door with a gun.
Yeah, I probably will. Yes,
Hmm.
yes, I probably will.
If you have
But
the gun,
if I have
Yeah,
the gun,
yeah, if you have the gun.
we have to hide under the bed.
and then you have to I don't know how the vetting process
No, I
goes.
just don't know how.
you
I'm
have-
just trying to think how cynical it has become, because if I hear a noise, and I believe in gun. I don't own a gun, but I believe that people have a right to a gun if they want to have a gun.
Well,
And it
see
doesn't matter.
that's it's funny that with that what you're saying there, it kind of almost conflicting. You think they
No.
ought to have the right to have a gun, but you don't know why they would want to have a gun.
No, that's just a personal question, because to me, to have a gun, there seems to be either a self-defense need or an attraction to
Let
guns.
me share
People
something
like
with
gun for practice shooting. I just am trying to wonder why you'd want one. I don't have one, but
I think
I
there are
don't.
a number of reasons, though. There are a number of reasons. Just before the election in 2008, I had taken a plan, a proposal to the then minister, who was Ralph Fonseca. And I remember I was driving down from Belmopan, and I wanted to create an indoor shooting gallery, and I was explaining to him the rationale that there are a lot of people who are walking around with guns who don't even know how to use a gun, who know to take it down and clean it, and
Yes.
none of that. I understand the dangers of it, and I'm saying here we would use this now. We're not going to make any money from government, because like the police and the BDF and them would have an opportunity to come in and use the gallery. But the regular citizens, security guards, other places like that would need to come in there. We will make money also off of selling bullets and having people there who give them instructions on how to use the gun. I was told, you know what? All right, let me run this by my CEO and see what happened. And about a month later, I didn't hear anything. So I said to him, I said, "What are you going?" I said, "Boy, well, that's too expensive because that's going to cost the government over $20,000 a month."
What for?
I said, "What for?" That's what I said. I said that was not the plan. The plan was it would pay for itself through the private people, owners,
using it.
and the security firms and whatnot. Apparently, when he took it, they saw a way to make some money, and I think it was in the hands of the CEO, and I won't call for his name, but he obviously there was the one who came back with the figure, and I'm saying, but that is not what I had in mind. That was not it at all, and that was the end of that. And it was a good idea that went down the drain. I had the property, I had the building and whatnot. I had all investment that was ready to go into that, and that was the end of that. Sad situation. But there are a lot we can do with the gun issue, gentlemen. We're out of time. Maito, I hope you had fun. We really enjoyed having you with us. Joe, as usual, I don't know why you like argue, but you like arguing with me. Greg, man, thanks, Greg, again, as usual. All you folks out there listening, really remember you can catch this on YouTube in retrospect. You can always go on and look at Beliztics. Belize without the ETICS. You could go on there, you can catch our back shows. Join us again next week, Wednesday, same time, same place. Joe, Greg, Jaime, we're gone. CY, take it away, please.
Good evening, all.
I wait for the signature tune, Joe. CY usually come when I sing that. The man got to sleep and where what?
Who is that?
CY up there in the studio. Anyway,
yeah, I heard him just now.
Joe, you're there at tongue tomorrow?
Yeah.
I think about that game. Maybe we'll try to get a couple of nice tickets, man. Some nice seats.
When the game?
But I hear 30 tomorrow evening at the Civic. And be with Tiger Sharks and Hurricanes from Belize. Right. So it should be an interesting contest.
I want to touch base with you because I might be a little bit tied up, but
let's see what happens, and if anything, we deal with it, right? Take care, Joe.
Sure.
Out of here.
Yeah. Take care. Bye.